In the heart of Oakbrook Vista, a picturesque suburban development in Northern Virginia, rows of immaculate two-story homes line curved streets with trimmed hedges, neat lawns, and matching mailboxes. The entrance features a well-maintained sign displaying, "Welcome to Oakbrook Vista," flanked by symmetrical flower beds. To a newcomer, it appears idyllic. Children play on quiet cul-de-sacs, and neighbors walk dogs along tree-lined sidewalks. Yet behind the tidy facades lurks a simmering tension. The Oakbrook Vista HOA is notorious for its strict enforcement and labyrinthine rules, spanning everything from the permissible shades of front doors to the allowable brand of mulch in one's flower beds. If you breach protocol, perhaps by leaving a garden hose visible or having a basketball hoop in your driveway, you risk receiving a stern warning or steep fine. The face of this rigidity belongs to Diana Carpenter, the HOA's self-appointed watchdog. In her early 50s, Diana styles her hair in a short, practical cut, favoring crisp blazers even on weekends. She is, at first glance, polite, eager to introduce new residents to the intricacies of the community. Yet her overbearing manner soon grates on anyone who dares to question her authority. Diana's neighbors refer to her privately as Karen for her habit of demanding to speak to the manager of any situation. She believes unconditionally that Oakbrook Vista's perfection is her personal triumph. To outsiders, such robust community guidelines may seem petty, but those living under Oakbrook Vista's watchful eye must follow them, or risk the wrath of the powerful HOA. For Diana, the HOA is not merely a volunteer committee, it is her kingdom. She clings to its rulebook like a security blanket, convinced that by upholding even the smallest details, she is preserving the very soul of the neighborhood. Alex and Marisol Evans arrive on a Friday afternoon in a caravan of moving trucks. With two young children, Clara, age 6, and Mateo, age 4, they hope Oakbrook Vista will be a peaceful environment to raise their family. They had been drawn by the pristine streets and the promise of a safe, well-managed community. Neither Alex nor Marisol realized how well-managed would soon come to mean tyrannically controlled. As they begin unloading boxes, an older woman strides up the driveway. She flashes a tight, practiced smile. "Hello there. I'm Diana Carpenter, treasurer of the HOA and unofficial neighborhood liaison. Are you the new owners?" Her tone suggests that only owners, not renters or guests, could possibly belong here. Marisol extends her hand politely. "Yes, we're the Evans family. Nice to meet you. We're excited to be here." Diana's gaze flits over the moving boxes. "Have you had a chance to review the HOA guidelines? There are quite a few. We send out monthly updates via email, so be sure to check your spam folder." Alex wipes his brow, still holding a box of kitchenware. "We've seen some of them. We've got a big binder that the realtor gave us, too." "Lovely," Diana responds, her eyes already scanning the yard. She notices a plastic swing set leaning against the garage door. "Ah, yes. We have very particular rules about the color and placement of outdoor play equipment. Just make sure you get an official approval form before installing anything permanent." Unsure how to respond, Marisol nods. "We'll do that. Thank you for the heads up." Diana gives a satisfied smile and hands them her personal business card. "Call me if you need any clarification on the guidelines." "Welcome to Oakbrook Vista." As she walks away, Alex and Marisol exchange wary glances. Their first impression of the neighborhood is tinged with a sense of caution and a small knot of unease. That evening, with most of the boxes inside, Alex and Marisol take a short stroll around the block to unwind. They chance upon a friendly couple, Daniel and Shayla Jones, who live 4 houses down. After some polite conversation about the local schools and job markets, Daniel leans in conspiratorially. "So, you've met Diana Carpenter, I take it?" Marisol nods with a faint grimace. "She introduced herself earlier, yes." Shayla sighs, exchanging a knowing look with her husband. "She's not all bad, but she can be intrusive. Don't be surprised if you get a letter about something small, like your recycling bin being an inch too close to the curb." Daniel shrugs. "We call her Karen among ourselves. Be careful about complaining openly, though. She has ways of making life difficult if she thinks you're challenging her authority." Marisol's eyebrows rise. "That intense?" Shayla nods. "Unfortunately, she once tried to impose a fine on the family across the street because their child's lemonade stand didn't have a temporary structure permit. It's not even a real thing. But she insisted the HOA has unlimited discretion to regulate street-facing displays. Daniel adds softly, "She's the reason many people keep their heads down. No one wants the extra stress." The Evanses thank the Joneses for the insight. As they walk home under the warm glow of street lamps, they can't help feeling a flicker of apprehension. Their picturesque new life might be overshadowed by the looming presence of Diana, Karen Carpenter. The first official sign of trouble arrives 2 weeks later in a crisp white envelope with the Oakbrook Vista HOA logo. Printed on fine stationery is a notice about a possible infraction regarding the placement of lawn decor. Perplexed, Marisol scans the text. It cites a toy rocket that Clara and Mateo left on the lawn the day before. "What is this?" Marisol mutters as she hands the letter to Alex. "A rocket? They're kids. They left it out for a few hours." Alex schemes the language and shakes his head. "It says if we fail to remove unapproved yard items within 48 hours, we'll face a $50 fine." Frustrated, Marisol calls the HOA helpline, a number that routes to Diana's personal phone. Diana picks up on the third ring, her voice tinged with the usual authority. "HOA helpline, Diana Carpenter speaking. How may I help you?" "Diana, this is Marisol Evans. I received a notice about a plastic rocket in my yard." Diana sounds matter-of-fact. "Yes, I documented it during my routine inspection. The guidelines state that all yard decor must adhere to a uniform aesthetic." Marisol struggles to remain polite. "It's just a child's toy. Is this really an issue?" Diana's tone remains unyielding. "Everything that's visible from the street must meet community standards. Toys, holiday decorations, flags, everything. If you have any questions, you can consult the guidelines manual." Marisol thanks her tersely, ends the call, and rubs her temples. It's a small instance, but it foreshadows the more dramatic confrontations yet to come. Despite the strict atmosphere, Oakbrook Vista has a tradition of hosting a monthly potluck in the local park. Organized by neighbor volunteers, it's one of the few times residents feel they can gather without a heavy-handed sense of regulation, though Diana always attends and carries her notepad. On a sunny Saturday, folding tables fill the central lawn with dishes labeled in neat handwriting. Families chat over homemade casseroles and pies, while kids chase each other under the watchful eyes of parents. Marisol and Alex bring a plate of fresh empanadas, which quickly vanish in the crowd. For a brief moment, the neighborhood feels warm and harmonious. Diana arrives late, wearing a tailored linen suit, an HOA name badge pinned to the lapel. She sets down a store-bought dish of pasta salad, then circles the area with the air of an inspector. It doesn't take long for her to approach a teenage boy who's taken off his shoes. "Young man, this is a public space. Please keep your shoes on," she says firmly. Startled, the teen scrambles to comply, while his embarrassed mother looks on. Marisol witnesses the exchange and can't help feeling irritated. Even here, at a community gathering meant to foster unity, Diana can't resist meddling in trivial matters. It's as though every moment is an opportunity to assert her version of order. Marisol steels herself. If even a harmless potluck can't go without confrontation, what larger storms lie ahead? In a quiet act of rebellion, Daniel and Shayla Jones, along with a few other neighbors, begin an informal group chat to air grievances about the HOA. They keep it secret from official oversight. The chat quickly overflows with stories about petty fines and heated run-ins with Diana. From unapproved welcome mats to loud washers running past 9 p.m., every complaint reveals a pattern. Diana punishes the smallest deviations while the more serious needs of the neighborhood remain ignored. One user in the group chat, Anonmike, shares a photo of a letter imposing a $200 fee because he planted the wrong variety of tulips. Another neighbor complains about threatened legal action because they replaced a broken window with slightly different glass. The stories are endless, each punctuated by exasperation. Daniel floats the idea of banding together to speak out at the next HOA meeting. "She can't fine everyone," he writes. "And if we show a unified front, the rest of the board might take notice." In the days that follow, the chat bristles with excitement and anxiety. Even so, a few users worry about repercussions. Karen is known to be vindictive. For now, the seeds of possible change have been sown, though no one knows how far they will grow or if Diana will strike back even harder. Things escalate to a whole new level when a local catering company, Culinary Dreams, is scheduled to deliver a large gourmet order to the Stone family for a milestone birthday party. The Stones live 2 doors down from the Evans household. Since the order is substantial, exceeding $1,000, Culinary Dreams plans a direct drop-off in a refrigerated van. On that same day, a light drizzle falls over Oakbrook Vista. The delivery driver parks in front of the Stones' house, but a glitch in the address system causes confusion. The typed label reads 328 Maple Way, when the Stones live at 382 Maple Way. Realizing the numbers are reversed, the driver steps out to confirm which home belongs to the correct recipient. The house at 328 is actually Diana Carpenter's residence. Unfortunately, the Stones are running an errand, leaving no one immediately home to guide the driver. Meanwhile, Diana spots a culinary van stopped near her curb through her living room window. Intrigued, she slips on a raincoat and hurries outside to assist. The driver, a young woman named Katrina, checks her clipboard. "I'm looking for the Stone family. Big birthday catering. Are you Miss Stone?" Diana tugs the hood of her coat tighter. "I'm with the HOA. I can accept deliveries on behalf of neighbors, no problem." She says this with authority, a tactic she often uses to insert herself into others' affairs. Katrina hesitates, glancing at the invoice that lists a phone number for confirmation. She tries calling, but it goes to voicemail. Not wanting to wait in the rain, and with Diana insisting she's an official representative of the homeowner association, Katrina eventually hands over the large boxes of gourmet meals, side dishes, and a sumptuous cake, trusting that they'll be delivered safely. Satisfied, Diana signs the delivery form, scribbling something illegible. Katrina thanks her and drives off, relieved to head to the next stop. Diana stands in the drizzle, gazing at the boxes worth over $1,000. A slow smile creeps over her face. Around an hour later, Rick and Naomi Stone arrive home from their errand. They find their front porch empty and check the tracking number provided by Culinary Dreams, which indicates the delivery has been completed. Confused, Rick scans the street and spots no evidence of the catering van. Suddenly, Naomi notices faint wheel marks on the road near Diana Carpenter's driveway. She tries calling the catering service and is told the food was handed over to an HOA official. Alarmed, Naomi stands on her tiptoes to see over Diana's hedges. Sure enough, she can make out a large white box inside her neighbor's screened porch. Naomi marches to Diana's front door. The door opens a crack, the chain latch still in place, revealing Diana's face. "Can I help you, Naomi? We had a large catering order delivered. Culinary Dreams said an HOA representative signed for it." "That's ours," Naomi says, her voice shaking with rising anger. Diana's gaze is calm, almost smug. "I took it on your behalf. It was raining and no one was home." "Then can we have it now?" Rick demands, stepping into view. Diana's expression tightens. "I've gone through the invoices. I don't see your name on them. And it was delivered to my address. If you can't provide an exact receipt, I'm unsure if I can release it." Naomi's jaw drops. "This was obviously meant for us. It's for our daughter's birthday party tonight. You have no right to keep it." But Diana simply shrugs. "If it's truly yours, you'll get it eventually. Let me verify with the company." She shuts the door. Naomi and Rick exchange furious glances. What was initially a mix-up now feels like a brazen act of theft. When word gets out that Diana has seized the Stones' catering order, the entire block buzzes with disbelief. The notion that she's holding hostage an expensive food delivery, presumably for her own benefit, seems outrageous. Even those who once gave Diana the benefit of the doubt now shake their heads in condemnation. Alex and Marisol are particularly appalled. They approach the Stones, offering help. Alex calls the caterer, while Marisol writes a careful email to the HOA board, minus Diana, to clarify the situation. The board's response is tepid. They claim it's a private dispute and promise to speak with Ms. Carpenter. Meanwhile, the Stones scramble to replace their expensive meal for the birthday party. By the time they secure a last-minute option, rushing to a local supermarket for large trays of roasted chicken and side dishes, they've spent hundreds of extra dollars. Their daughter's celebration is marred by stress and leftover bitterness. That night, from her window, Marisol sees a few cars pulling up to Diana's house. Through the curtains, faint silhouettes reveal a small group of people coming and going. carrying what look like covered dishes and plates. A wave of revulsion washes over Marisol. Is Diana literally hosting a private feast with the Stones catering? The next morning, an incensed Rick Stone contacts the local police. A calm but firm officer, Sergeant DuPont, arrives to take a statement. He listens carefully as Rick and Naomi detail how their $1,000 plus catering order never reached them and was instead appropriated by Diana Carpenter. Sergeant DuPont rubs his chin. Grand larceny in our state can apply to theft over $1,000. If the suspect knowingly withheld property worth that amount or more, we may have a case. Over the next day, the officer attempts to speak with Diana. She refuses to open her door, claiming she is too busy. Over the phone, she insists it's a misunderstanding, that the Stones never collected their property, and that she was protecting it from the elements until she could verify rightful ownership. Sergeant DuPont is not persuaded. Ma'am, the rightful owners want their goods. Why did you not hand them over as soon as they came knocking? Diana's response is laced with annoyance. They did not follow HOA protocol. I needed documentation. And anyway, the invoice had my address on it. The officer, exasperated, reminds her that not returning someone else's property can be considered theft. Diana remains confident that her involvement with the HOA grants her the power to mediate such disputes unilaterally. Unbeknownst to her, she has crossed a significant legal line. As police interest in the case intensifies, rumors spread across Oakbrook Vista like wildfire. Neighbors gasp at the audacity of Karen, who brazenly kept a costly food delivery. Some wonder aloud if she might have done similar things before, intercepting packages or deliveries and claiming them for herself. Others recall minor incidents in which Diana acted suspiciously around UPS or FedEx trucks. Most had brushed it off as her typical nosiness. Now, in retrospect, it appears to be a pattern of intrusion escalating to outright theft. Marisol and Shayla helped the Stones organize receipts, showing the exact cost of the catered items. The total easily surpasses $1,000. The local news even sniffs out the story, initially as a quirky neighborhood dispute, until they learn the potential for criminal charges. A reporter stands at the entrance to Oakbrook Vista, filming a short segment. The broadcast teases, HOA official accused of snatching large food delivery. Could this be grand larceny? Infuriated by the sudden wave of negative press, Diana doubles down on her stance. She sends a mass email to the entire neighborhood, subject line, setting the record straight. In it, she refers to the Stones catering fiasco as a misunderstanding, blaming the Stone family for failing to follow the delivery guidelines. She also hints that a wave of outsiders and troublemakers is stirring division in Oakbrook Vista. Far from calming tensions, the email inflames them. One by one, neighbors share the email with local media, mocking Diana's attempt to defend her actions. The sense of unity among residents grows stronger, but so does the feeling that something big, perhaps catastrophic, is about to happen to Diana Carpenter. Within the HOA board, panic sets in. Thomas Reed, the board president, schedules an emergency closed-door meeting to address the fiasco. The board members gather at the HOA Community Center, a windowless, bland conference room with plastic chairs. Only 5 individuals attend: Reed, Diana, and 3 other members. From the start, tensions run high. Diana, Thomas begins softly. This has gotten out of hand. The Stones have filed a police report. They say you confiscated their property, and the media is calling it theft. Diana's face reddens. It's not theft. That food was dropped at my address. I was safeguarding it until the rightful owner could produce the correct paperwork. A younger board member named Allison Fairchild clears her throat. They did come to your door. You refused them. The driver had the correct address reversed, but it's fairly obvious the Stones were the real recipients. Did you at least keep their food refrigerated properly? Diana bristles, ignoring the question. The real problem is that people in this community don't respect the process. I've tried to uphold our rules. If the Stones had read the guidelines on large deliveries, none of this would have happened. Thomas exhales deeply, trying to maintain composure. The law might disagree. The police are considering grand larceny charges if the value is proven beyond $1,000. An uneasy silence settles in. The older board member, Patricia Grove, finally speaks in a trembling voice. Diana, We could all be in legal jeopardy if you claim you acted on behalf of the HOA. Diana's eyes blaze. I am the HOA. I was elected treasurer. Everything I do is for Oakbrook Vista. But Thomas shakes his head. That's not how it works. You're stepping beyond your role. This is personal wrongdoing, and you'll have to face the consequences alone. We're preparing a statement distancing the board from your actions. As the meeting adjourns, Diana storms out, slamming the door behind her. The rest of the board members exchange worried looks, bracing themselves for the fallout. Late that evening, police cruisers roll quietly down the manicured streets of Oakbrook Vista. At exactly 7:15 p.m., they pull up to Diana's driveway. Sergeant DuPont and another officer knock on her door. Lights flicker on inside. Diana opens the door warily. What is it now, she demands. In a calm, practiced tone, DuPont reads out the Miranda rights. Ms. Diana Carpenter, you are under arrest for grand larceny, specifically, the unlawful taking of property exceeding $1,000 in value. Please step outside. A hush falls over the block as neighbors peek from windows and doorways, watching in shock as Diana is handcuffed on her own porch. She sputters in disbelief, her voice rising. This is an outrage. I was doing my civic duty. You can't do this to me. But the officers, with stoic expressions, lead her to the squad car. Flashing red and blue lights reflect off the pristine houses, painting the scene in a surreal glow. For years, Diana Carpenter towered over the neighborhood as the ultimate enforcer of rules. Now, she's being treated as a criminal suspect, her authority vanishing in an instant. As the squad car pulls away, residents spill onto the street, whispering and exchanging stunned looks. Some feel relief, others are uncertain. Rick Stone stands with Naomi, arms crossed tightly. They finally have some measure of vindication. Yet the reality of the situation leaves them shaken. No one expected it to go this far. Marisol Evans hears her phone buzz. The group chat is exploding with messages. She's in cuffs. Who would have thought we'd see the day? What about the rest of the board? Meanwhile, Thomas Reed sends an emergency email to residents, stating the HOA's official position. We regret to inform you of the ongoing investigation concerning Ms. Diana Carpenter. The HOA does not condone any illegal actions. We are cooperating fully with the authorities. Over the next hours, local news cameras converge at the Oakbrook Vista entrance. Microphones thrust forward, capturing the stunned reactions of neighbors. A reporter gravely proclaims, an unusual sight in suburban Oakbrook Vista. An HOA official accused of grand larceny for intercepting a catering order. In a single day, Diana Carpenter's carefully curated reputation crumbles. She once saw herself as a guardian of property values. Now the entire region knows her by a new name, HOA Karen, charged with grand larceny. At the police station, Diana is processed, fingerprints taken, mugshots snapped. She tries to maintain an air of dignity, insisting that she's the victim of a misunderstanding. Yet the seriousness of her charge, grand larceny, hammers home the gravity of the situation. Her attorney, a harried man named Gerald Shaw, arrives after midnight. He attempts to calm her, explaining the legal realities. The police have strong evidence. The order was delivered, you didn't release it, and it's worth more than $1,000. That's a Class 5 felony in our jurisdiction. Even if you believed you were in the right, the law sees it differently. Diana's eyes brim with anger and fear. But I'm on the HOA board. Don't they realize I was safeguarding it for the real owners? They never properly showed me a receipt. Gerald rubs his forehead. Your best bet is to claim a misunderstanding, but they have statements from the Stones and the catering company. The moral question is why you refuse to hand the food over when asked. That's going to be hard to defend. After hours of paperwork, Diana is allowed to post bail. She emerges from the station exhausted, stepping into the crisp night air. Cameras flash in her face. Microphones are thrust forward, capturing her disheveled appearance as she rushes to an awaiting car. Despite her predicament, she can't resist glaring at reporters, outraged they dare question her. In her mind, she is still the enforcer, the one who demands compliance. But the turning of the legal tide has placed her on the receiving end of scrutiny she never anticipated. In the days following Diana's arrest, Oakbrook Vista experiences turmoil. Some neighbors celebrate, arguing that justice is finally being served. Others worry about the negative spotlight, tarnishing the entire community's reputation. The HOA tries to carry on with regular business, collecting dues, scheduling lawn services, but the phone lines and email inboxes are flooded with inquiries about the scandal. Thomas Reed calls an emergency meeting, open to all residents. For the first time in years, nearly every homeowner attends, packing the small conference room. People stand in the hallway, straining to hear. They demand answers. How did we let her run things unchecked? Why wasn't there a system for major deliveries or for verifying addresses? Are we all at risk for lawsuits now? Thomas, sweat beading on his forehead, admits that oversight may have been lacking. He announces that Diana has been temporarily suspended from her duties as treasurer, pending the outcome of her trial. A ripple of relief and, oddly, anxiety runs through the crowd. Meanwhile, in a more private setting, the Stones consult with their insurance and weigh a civil suit for damages against Diana personally. They have documented her refusal to return property, the emotional distress, and the cost of replacing a grand catering order. Their attorney believes that with a grand larceny case on the table, a civil victory is all but guaranteed. The sweet, tree-lined streets of Oakbrook Vista now buzz with legal chatter, televised gossip, and a sense that the entire community stands at a crossroads. Will it remain a place of petty rule enforcement, or evolve into something more balanced and neighborly? Several weeks later, the preliminary court hearing for Diana Carpenter unfolds in a modest county courtroom. Fluorescent lights highlight the tension in the air. Spectators pack the benches, neighbors, reporters, curious onlookers. The Stones sit in the first row, faces set in grim determination. Alex and Marisol watch from a few rows back, part of a sea of Oakbrook Vista residents who want to see how this plays out. Diana, wearing a conservative navy suit, stands beside her lawyer. The prosecutor, Rachel Klein, systematically lays out the evidence. Delivery confirmation. Katrina from Culinary Dreams testifies how she handed over the food based on the assumption Diana was an official representative. Witness statements. Naomi Stone recounts how Diana refused to release the order, claiming she needed proof of ownership. Video evidence. A neighbor's security camera captured part of the incident, showing the catering van in front of Diana's house and the subsequent confrontation on her porch. The defense tries to spin a tale of miscommunication. Gerald Shaw claims Diana was acting in good faith, intending to protect the property, but the judge doesn't appear swayed. The refusal to hand over the food, combined with the high dollar amount, strongly suggests unlawful appropriation. In a dramatic moment, the prosecutor reveals receipt records and digital logs from Culinary Dreams stating the total cost, $1,127.52, a clear crossing of the $1,000 threshold for grand larceny. The gavel strikes. The judge orders the case to proceed to trial. A hush falls over the courtroom. Diana's once confident expression quivers as she realizes this is no mere formality. She stands at the edge of a potential felony conviction. As the trial date looms, Diana experiences a precipitous fall from grace. Community reputation. Neighbors who once hesitated to speak out now freely share Karen's stories, describing her as a bully and a thief. Financial strain. Mounting legal fees threaten to drain her savings. She's forced to refinance her home to pay Gerald Shaw's retainer. HOA upheaval. The board schedules a special election to replace Diana's position permanently. Several members of the community who joined the secret chat decide to run, promising a more resident-friendly approach. Diana grows reclusive, rarely leaving her home except for legal meetings. She believes the entire neighborhood has betrayed her. From her window, she can see the hush in the street whenever her blinds shift, a reflection of how swiftly her illusions of control have evaporated. The Stones, buoyed by support from neighbors, finalize a civil suit seeking monetary damages. They quietly add emotional distress to their claims, referencing the blatant disregard for their celebratory event. Their attorney is confident of a strong case, given the looming criminal charges. In a move that stuns no one, Thomas Reed publicly declares that the HOA has severed ties with Diana Carpenter and is not responsible for her actions. He even expresses regret that the board failed to curb her authoritarian tendencies sooner, acknowledging a collective responsibility for letting one person wield too much unchecked power. On the first day of the grand larceny trial, Cameras flash outside the county courthouse. A crowd has gathered: neighbors, local media, curious residents from nearby towns. Inside, the prosecutor's approach is straightforward. Prove that Diana intentionally deprived the Stones of property worth over $1,000. Key witnesses take the stand. Katrina, the delivery driver, she recounts Diana's insistence that she was the correct person to accept the delivery. Naomi Stone details the heated exchange on Diana's porch, how she begged for the catering order to be returned and was refused. Rick Stone presents the official invoice and the cost breakdown, leaving no doubt as to the total value. He also emphasizes the time-sensitive nature of perishable food. Police Officer DuPont describes Diana's demeanor during questioning and her dismissive attitude. Gerald Shaw attempts various defenses. He suggests the Stone family's failure to confirm details with the driver contributed to the mishap, but the judge quickly dismisses that angle as irrelevant to Diana's refusal to return property that was clearly not hers. A particularly damning moment arrives when the prosecutor plays a snippet of a recorded phone conversation between Diana and an HOA colleague. In it, Diana is heard saying, "The Stones have no proof. It was delivered to me. Let them sue. Maybe I'll keep the cake." Gasps echo through the courtroom. Diana's lawyer pales, recognizing that such flippant words destroy any notion of an innocent misunderstanding. After days of testimony, closing arguments ensue. The jury deliberates for barely 3 hours before returning to deliver their verdict: guilty of grand larceny. The judge's tone is stern. "Ms. Carpenter, your role as an HOA official does not grant you immunity from the law. The evidence clearly demonstrates that you wrongfully exercised control over property exceeding $1,000 in value, refusing to relinquish it even when the owners demanded its return. This court finds you guilty." Diana stands rigid, hands clasped. Fear flickers across her face. The seriousness of a felony conviction weighs on her like a lead blanket. For perhaps the first time, she feels a helplessness she once inflicted on others. The judge orders Diana to await sentencing, scheduling it for a month later. The Stones watch, a mix of relief and sadness. They never imagined it would go so far, but they also recognize that letting such a brazen act slide would have set a dangerous precedent. Outside, local reporters press for statements. The Stone family politely declines. Diana says nothing, bundling into a waiting car with her attorney. The tension of the entire affair reverberates through Oak Brook Vista, reminding everyone that the law does not bow to personal entitlement, no matter how deeply someone believes they are in the right. In the aftermath, a somber hush settles over Oak Brook Vista. While some neighbors are relieved to see justice, others express a kind of pity for Diana, who faces a looming prison sentence. But pity is not the same as sympathy. There is virtually no one left to champion her innocence. The board holds an official recall election for the treasurer's seat. Allison Fairchild, who had questioned Diana's conduct early on, wins easily on a platform of transparency and community involvement. In her acceptance speech, she promises a radical shift: no more aggressive rule enforcement. "We aim for collaboration, not coercion." The applause that follows is the most genuine sense of hope the neighborhood has felt in years. Meanwhile, the Stones' civil lawsuit proceeds swiftly, bolstered by the criminal conviction. Diana attempts to settle out of court, but her financial resources are stretched too thin by legal fees. When the civil court rules in favor of the Stones, awarding them compensation for their losses and legal costs, Diana faces yet another financial blow. Left with no choice, she places her home on the market. Ironically, it's the same home where she once spied on neighbors, recorded infractions, and stored ill-gotten catering. Real estate agents note the stigma associated with the property. Prospective buyers inevitably ask, "Is this the house of the woman who stole the giant food order?" At last, the day of sentencing arrives. The courtroom is not as crowded as before, yet a handful of Oak Brook Vista residents are present. The judge reviews the details of the case, the monetary value involved, and the aggravating factor that Diana attempted to pass herself off as an authority figure to facilitate the crime. In a grave voice, the judge addresses the defendant. "Ms. Carpenter, you stand before this court convicted of grand larceny. The theft involved property delivered in good faith by a catering company. You refused repeated requests to return it to the rightful owners. going so far as to consume or distribute some of the items for personal gain. You have shown little remorse or understanding of the seriousness of your actions. This was not a petty misunderstanding, but a clear abuse of your position to justify theft. Diana stares at the polished wooden floor, her eyes rimmed red. Her attorney had tried to negotiate for leniency, citing her lack of prior criminal record, but the judge remains unimpressed. In light of the evidence and the impact on the victims, this court sentences you to 1 year in the county correctional facility and orders you to pay full restitution to the Stone family. Additionally, you will be responsible for covering court costs and any related fees. If these costs remain unpaid, further legal action, including seizure of property, may be pursued. A faint sob escapes Diana as the words sink in. She's to lose her home, her standing, and her liberty, all over a brazen refusal to let go of someone else's property. The gavel's echo signals the end of Diana Carpenter's era of unchecked power. True to the judge's warning, the Stone family's civil judgment remains unpaid for months. Diana, incarcerated, can no longer manage her affairs effectively. Property taxes go delinquent, and the bank initiates foreclosure. The small equity that remains is swallowed by outstanding mortgage payments and legal fees. In a final twist, the county sheriff's office conducts a court-ordered seizure of Diana's personal belongings to satisfy the remainder of the civil judgment. Furniture, electronics, and various items are appraised and auctioned. The once pristine living room that Diana used to showcase HOA pamphlets and rulebooks is dismantled piece by piece. Neighbors watch the official trucks loading up items from Diana's property, remembering how she once stood on that same driveway, relishing her role as the neighborhood enforcer. The scene is sobering. The difference between being in control and losing everything can be just one disastrous decision. With Diana gone, Oakbrook Vista cautiously embarks on a new chapter. The newly elected HOA board meets regularly with residents to gather feedback, focusing on repairs to common areas and organizing community-building events. Marisol Evans volunteers to help revamp the guidelines, ensuring they prioritize safety and quality of life over trivial aesthetics. A sense of healing permeates the neighborhood. People place decorative flags without immediate fear of a fine. Children leave bikes on the lawn without incurring penalties. And, ironically, the community's property values remain stable. Some say they even improve due to the friendlier atmosphere. The Stones find closure, though they still shake their heads at the absurd memory of their daughter's birthday party fiasco. Meanwhile, Daniel and Shayla Jones express gratitude that the neighborhood group chat could unite residents. The lasting lesson is that an HOA can protect community standards, but unchecked power and personal vendettas inevitably poison the very environment it aims to preserve. 1 year later, a simple black sedan stops outside the county correctional facility. Diana Carpenter, holding a small cardboard box of personal items, steps out into the afternoon light. She's thinner, her hair limp, and her posture stooped from the weight of disgrace and regret. Her once pristine house belongs to someone else now. She has no official position, no authority, and her finances are in ruins. Ironically, she must now search for a rental, likely in a neighborhood run by an HOA. Only this time, she'll be on the receiving end of whatever rules are in place. The memory of that $1,000 catering order stings her. How could she have been so blind, so convinced she was above everyone else? As she walks toward a bus stop, she glances at the passing cars, each occupant headed somewhere more promising than the path she created for herself. The law that she once believed served her personal agenda has, in the end, held her fully accountable. Back in Oakbrook Vista, life goes on peacefully. Children bike on sidewalks, neighbors greet each other with a smile, and the new HOA fosters open dialogue rather than top-down enforcement. Many still whisper about Karen, the overzealous official whose arrogance led her to commit a felony. Yet the tale serves as a sober reminder. No one is exempt from laws or consequences. Even in the calm, tree-lined suburbs, the line between petty rule enforcement and criminal behavior can be crossed with a single, entitled act.